This is Columbus Concerns, a public affairs presentation of North American Broadcasting. Here's your host, Mark News.
And good morning, and thanks so much for joining us today on Columbus Concerns. We're talking today with Rob Fletcher, speaker, author, and instructor, and we're going to talk about self-defense. And Rob, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Mark.
Before we get started on self-defense, a very important topic, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background?
Sure, a very strong background in self-defense and fitness for over 30 years now. Big promoter of the fact that martial arts especially should be incorporated into programs because you have the problems today, which are crime, violence, active shooters, sadly, rape, sexual assault, obesity, and bullying. So all of my programs, when I had my martial arts school, revolved around providing preventable solutions, but also, what to do in these situations. So unfortunately today, active shooters now is a big thing, so education's a big part of it and raising awareness. So that's basically what I've been doing for 30 years now.
Now, your company is called SDI 7 Safety and Self-Defense. So what does that stand for?
SDI 7 is self-defense in 7 minutes, and there's SDI 7 HIT, which is self-defense in 7 minutes, high-intensity interval training. So along with the education, empowerment, and raising awareness part of it, we're implementing a workout that people can do to protect themselves.
And you have a website?
Yes, SDI7HIIT.com.
Rob Fletcher is our guest today, and we're going to talk about self-defense and how important it is today. And I know that especially you think about, like you said, the active shooters, you think about the violence that's going on, you think about kids going off to college and all the things they need to think about. This is something that parents and, just about everybody needs to think about.
Every day, unfortunately. But as I say, it should be a healthy awareness, not a paranoid fear. Mm-hmm. And it really comes down to just providing the information. So that's when we do our presentations, providing the information and the knowledge, and then for the people to take that information and to apply it into their day-to-day way of life, again, as a healthy awareness, and hopefully giving that information to their kids and then practicing that awareness to prevent a potentially life-threatening encounter.
So if I come to you and say, I want you to teach me about self-defense, what are some of the things we do to get started? Sure.
So the big part of it is self-defense. Your best self-defense is always prevention. Healthy awareness, paying attention to things that are happening around you. And when I say paying attention, I mean paying attention using your eyes, your ears, your nose. And we see the results of that through an example would be a parent who actually informed the police. She was worried, concerned about her child who was in his journal saying that he was going to shoot up his school. Mm-hmm. So the parent took proactive approach, and that's difficult to do. But again, she saw something, she did something. So I think people have to really use eyes, nose, ears, pay attention, look, watch, listen, observe people's habits and behaviors to prevent something from happening, and then trust your instincts. If something doesn't look right, most likely it is not right. So avoid it. And that's difficult to do, especially today. We spoke earlier about college, college campus, sexual assault and rape, for example. In the first 3 months of college, it's known as the red zone. That's where 50% of the sexual assaults happen or occur in that first few months of college, mainly because the victims are freshmen. Mm-hmm. They're naive and they're looking to fit in, so they're vulnerable. And So unfortunately, the predators know that. And then, of course, you have the date, rape, drugs, and all of those things. And, part of the process is education. If you go out in public, paying attention to your drink, always having it in line of sight, not accepting a drink from a stranger. So prevention is a big part of it. Now, that's the one part. So that's the before. So we have the before, during, and after. So before is prevention. When you leave your house, locking your doors, doing day-to-day things, not being complacent with that attitude of it won't happen here or to me. So now we're in the situation. So we're faced with a violent threat. So the concept or the basis of self-defense in 7 minutes is to understand right away what's happening. So there's denial, deliberation process, and decisive moment. So in denial, it's surreal. The scene seems like, okay, this is not really happening. What do I do? What are you going to do to me?
Right.
So we have to get you through those two parts of denial, then deliberation, which now you're thinking about, what am I going to do? What's going to happen to me? So we have to get you to go from what I say is 0 to 60 miles an hour in seconds. So denial, is this really happening? Deliberation, what am I going to do? Then decisive moment, that's when you take action. So take action means, do I run? Do I fight back? In active shooter case, do I hide? What do I do?
Sure.
So if you decide that you're going to fight back, if running is an option, of course, that's your best route. You run. Should you choose to fight back, having a clear mind, there's 4 mindset zones. Red mindset zone, you're paralyzed by fear, you're shut down. Yellow mindset zone, you're overcome with fear, you panic, you don't know what to do. You don't know where to strike or how to strike. Gray mindset zone is where you want to be. And I associate the colors because I would want people to think of that color.
Sure.
So we want them to get out of red and yellow, go immediately to gray. Okay, what do I do? Look around. If it's a violent attack, is there something around me I can grab to strike with, a blunt object to protect myself? And then going into fight back mode, where that's just a counter attack of violence. You have to survive. So focusing on the primary, most vulnerable target areas, the eyes, the nose, and the groin. So again, clarity, assess. Okay, I have to fight back, eyes, nose, and groin. Now, what do I strike with? My thumbs, my fingers, my palms, my elbows, my knee, and my foot. So if we go back to the self-defense in 7 minutes, okay, we know our target areas. Now, how can I practice this as part of a fitness routine? Again, not preparing yourself where you're going to leave your house and you're going to have to use self-defense every day, but now it incorporates into a program that's empowering you and it's getting you in good shape. But now, eyes, nose, and groin, one's called a palm strike. There's another a spear hand strike and an elbow and a knee and a foot. We put that together in a combination. You're 1 minute on a fighting skill, self-defense technique, or combative movement, if you're self-defense against a weapon. And then you go 1 minute into an exercise, strength, explosive, or combination movement. So again, now, if you do that for 7 minutes a day, 3 to 5 days a week, now imagine how well you're reinforcing and kick back that muscle memory effect of reaction into reflex. So again, clarity, going from out of the red zone, the yellow zone, right into gray, assess, right to green, which is fight back. Green that's where you go. Eyes, nose, groin, and then the goal is to escape in that situation.
Right. Well, it's funny because we all think back of the times when we were kids and we had fire drills, and the reason they do that is so if it happens, you don't panic, you know what to do, you've practiced it, you go over it again and again, and so you know what to do. I suppose in a situation like this, if you find yourself in a life-threatening situation, panic is a very bad thing, so you got to practice this stuff.
Exactly right, and that's what in active shooter, civilian response active shooter events, what you do is it's called scripting and practicing. And exactly what you just said. I call it mental and emotional ammunition. So you're preparing yourself mentally and emotionally. That is the most important piece of this. It's not just about the skill. You can have the skill, but you might not mentally and emotionally be prepared to do what you need to do to escape an attack. Or how would you react if suddenly shots are fired?
Yeah.
You're in a building, you're in a school. How would I react? Would you freeze? Would you hide? So ahead of time, preparing for it mentally and emotionally. Giving yourself visuals of what would I do, how I would react, and you hit the nail on the head, and it's called scripting and practicing, giving yourself enough mental and emotional ammunition before an event were to actually happen that you will do everything you can to avoid that freeze zone, that red zone, where you're helpless.
We're talking today with Rob Fletcher about self-defense, and again, your website?
SDI7HIIT.com.
Now, talk a little bit about, I know that especially for kids going back to college and things like that, you've put together a very interesting self-defense kit. Tell me what's in it and why each item's in there.
Sure. So as I said earlier, the biggest piece of information and the best advice I can give to anyone is prevention. Not be complacent, practicing daily habits and behaviors of safety and prevention. That's number one. So in thinking of that and having a 19-year-old daughter myself, okay, whether she goes away right now, she's not at college, but she's outside of my environment now. So
Sure.
I said, what can I give to people? What can I offer to people that would put them in that mindset, one, mentally and emotionally, if it were to happen? And then what can I put together? What kind of package can I put together that would be a complete package? So you have the knowledge and the information, so that's part of it. You have the DVD or the flash drive or the video links that you get with it. But then you have the other preventable pieces. So one is a doorstop alarm. The doorstop alarm goes inside of your apartment or dorm, or if you're a traveler, a hotel room, And if someone were to crack that door open, that would immediately set off the 120 decibel sound alarm. So again, that's prevention. All of a sudden, that sound alarm goes off. Next, we have the key ring. So now if you find yourself in a bad situation, you pull out the pin. That again would set off 120 decibel sound alarm siren, drawing attention, which in many cases will scare off the predator or attacker. Then we have the pepper spray. Now there's two things. There's a pepper spray and a pepper gel. And what I will say is many people buy the pepper sprays, but they never practice with them. And then two, they don't really have them accessible, so they need them. So if you do have pepper spray, have it accessible. And especially if you're in that isolated or questionable area, have it ready to go and know how to use it and understand with the pepper spray, there is a blowback effect. So if there's a slight wind, the pepper spray will blow back and get you. So you don't want that to happen. So you want to be aware of that. But there's the gel also. So we have the pepper spray gel. That's very, very effective. That causes involuntary eye closure, immediate psychological symptoms of fear, panic, anxiety. It's difficulty breathing. So the motion is as if you were pulling a gun. It's just straight up, and there's an actuator at the top. And eye to eye, and then you make a little S right in the facial area, and that really gets into those parts. Then there's the forked steel baton, which is very, very effective. It's a key ring, a steel baton, and an expandable baton. And each one of those items, I instruct you how to use them because, again, there's no sense in having these things. And they're simple strikes, but they're very effective. Yeah. I mean, if you know, and it's also going to give especially women more confidence because again, as we were speaking earlier, a big part of this is mental and emotional preparation. Would you be able to go into that zone of green to fight back? So now there's intimidation, overcoming bigger, stronger, faster. So now with these items, now you feel a little more confident that I can get away. And that's what I want to do. My goal is to get you mentally, emotionally, and physically prepared should it ever happen. I hope it never does, but if it does, you're there.
Right.
Then we have the drink test kit, which this is unfortunate, but it happens. It's the rape, sexual assault. Many of these incidences are preventable. That does not give anyone the right to victimize anybody. However, when you're not paying attention or you're in a social environment, especially drinking, you want to make sure that your drink is in sight. So what happens is many people get their drink drugged. So this drink test kit detects if your drink was drugged. So when your drink is drugged, you're going to have loss of memory, confusion, and you won't know what happened the next day. So this will detect if your drink had been drugged. So those are very important things, as I feel, are part of the prevention, but then also you have the act. If the violent threat or act of violence was there, you have the tools necessary to hopefully get you out of it and then to survive and escape.
We're talking today with Rob Fletcher about self-defense, making yourself aware of your surroundings, and then knowing what to do in case your life is threatened. And again, your website, Rob, is?
SDI7HIIT.com.
Now, when you talk about self-defense, you're not only talking about personal self-defense, but you're talking about also, let's say, active shooters in the workplace. I know that you do training on that as well, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, tell us about that. I know I was recently talking with some FBI people, and they were saying that it is a fast-growing problem in the United States, and of course we've all seen it. Right here in Ohio, we've seen it, but it's something that just is continuing to grow and is a prevalent danger.
A big danger, and again, this comes down to preparation, and that's why schools, as we said earlier, we have schools now practicing these drills, which in many cases you could say, okay, this is traumatic for a child. But you know what? As I say in many of my seminars and presentations, if you can't handle it now, how are you going to handle it then?
Right.
So I think they're correct in doing what they need to do because the bottom line is your kid's safety. So yes, it's shocking at first, but if they cannot handle that then, there's no way that's going to translate to, okay, I'll handle it when it happens. So preparation is a big thing, and part of CRAZE, a civilian response active shooter events instruction. Again, go back to that denial, deliberation process, and then decisive moment. Again, shots are fired. I mean, here we are in a radio studio. All of a sudden, shots are fired. Now we have to immediately know and assess what do we need to do. Do we need to run? Or are people going to hide or fight back? What is it you're going to do? So if you have a pre-planned if you have a plan in place, like, okay, we're in a confined space. If someone were on the floor, okay, you have a decision. You could run out the door. But the first thing is you want to deny access. So we want to barricade the door, make sure the door is secure. Now, ultimately, if they do get through the door, and this is very important. So now, if you plan this out ahead of time in a group, especially with fellow office or coworkers, many people will say, oh my God, I don't know what I'll do. I think I'll freeze. Okay, that's okay. It's not wrong because we understand that. We know that group will freeze. Then we'll have runners that will just immediately run. But there will be fighters. Mm-hmm. They will say, and that's a big piece of what I do, because the fighters, they are going to be there on the front line. So now we're in a confined space, right? So that doorway that we have right here, that's known as the fatal funnel. We want to avoid that door. So our group that are the runners or they want to hide, we put them in the corner out of the line of fire of the fatal funnel. Now the door is barricaded. We want to deny access. But should we now hear the shooter is entering, now our fighters, they are positioned. They know their positions. They are on the left and right side of the doorway, right? So now we know what is most likely going to be the first thing to come through the door, the gun. So what do? We go for the gun. Our first movement, the fighters, position left and right side, get control of the gun. That's the first move. Get control of the gun, redirect the line of fire. Now we have the backup fighters. Now their job is to attack. They strike. They're going for the eyes, hitting with blunt objects, because ultimately want to get control of the weapon and disarm the shooter. Mm-hmm. It can be done. It can be done, but you have to give people hope. You have to have those fighters that you already pre-planned this, that they're going to be they're going to be the coach. They're going to know this is not happening to us today. We're going to survive this. We're going to get through this. So everyone gets in position. The shooter's on the floor. We're getting in position. We're on the left and right side of the doorway, and we understand the consequences. Sadly, we know that this is not going to be a perfect roadmap to survival. However, you have to have some sort of plan implemented ahead of time. So again, many people will freeze. They will hide, which is not a wrong answer. It's shocking for anyone. It's surreal, as I said earlier. It's like a nightmare. Shots are fired. Okay, now we have to get down to business. We have to take our roles.
Mm-hmm. Rob Fletcher, our guest today, talking about self-defense, and it's interesting too. You talk about confidence. You know, you have to have confidence that you can get out of a situation, and part of that, as we mentioned, is practicing a situation. How do you give confidence to, let's go back to the college student discussion, a female college student. Her attacker's probably going to be bigger and stronger. How do you give her confidence that she can get out of that situation?
Again, that's going to go back to mental and emotional ammunition, and that's the bigger piece than the skill set. But when you give them the things I shared with you earlier, these little weapons or self-defense items, one strike to the area, bigger, stronger, faster, that's the intimidation factor, and that's what the predator counts on, and that's also with the weapon. They know that they're going to shock the victim. What the predator's not most likely prepared for is the victim to fight back. So if you focus on those areas, because I'll give you an example. If you take a 5-year-old, so you have bigger, stronger, faster. Now, we're adults, so would you let that 5-year-old punch you in the chest? Sure, go ahead. Have fun. Would you let the 5-year-old poke you in the eye? I don't think so.
Okay.
Would you let the 5-year-old strike you to the groin with a nice kick? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
And now you're talking about a 5-year-old. Now you add another 100 pounds to a 120, 125-pound woman. You can do it. But again, I'm not going to give the false reality or perception that everything is perfect but again, the point is eyes, nose, and groin, and it's got to be a relentless attack on those areas, focusing without just haphazardly throwing strikes. Fingers to the eyes, palms to the nose, and then the lower body, kicks and knees to the groin area, and giving you the opportunity, hopefully, to run and escape. But it's a very, like I said, surreal scene.
Well, I can't believe our time is almost up. We have about 100 more questions here, but folks can get their questions answered if they go to your website. Again, Rob, tell us the website and how people can get a hold of you.
SDI7HIIT.com. You can go there. You can sign up for our newsletter. We also have the time to mention an event coming up, the Reagan Tokes Banquet Gala, which is in February 29th. at the Renaissance Hotel. And then the next day we had the SDI-7 Safety and Self-Defense Conference. And again, that's for Reagan Tokes, the young girl, Ohio State University student who was robbed, raped, abducted, and murdered 2 years ago.
Our guest on the program today has been Rob Fletcher. Rob, thanks so much for stopping by and giving us some really good information.
Thank you, Mark, very much.
Thanks for listening to Columbus Concerns, a public affairs presentation of North American Broadcasting. You can send questions or comments about today's show to Columbus Concerns in care of this station, 1458 Dublin Road, Columbus 43215. Or email us at columbusconcerns@napcomedia.com.